All around, construction sites, mud and noise, and most importantly, the 5-year plans, which demanded enormous efforts from workers for the sake of recovery. The daily work routine was monotonous and exhausting. Kolkhozes and factories became the main centers of labor. Long hours, low wages, but no doubt, labor was a sacred duty. On the walls, propaganda posters urging heroism. At home, in cramped communal apartments, communal flats, where families literally squeezed together in confined spaces. One room for the whole family. Shared kitchens brimming with tension. Comfort? That was a luxury, not a reality. As for food, ration cards for bread and potatoes were a daily fact of life. Meat was a luxury, and market queues became a common scene. Even after the severe famine of 1946-47, which everyone remembered, food problems did not disappear. And in the shadow of this fear, the NKVD stood around every corner, their purges never ceasing. Loyalty to Stalin was mandatory, and arrests were not uncommon. Comparison, quality of life. Let us compare two worlds, two paths. In the Soviet Union, life was harsh, focused solely on survival. The average income was about 200 rubles a month, making dreams of luxury virtually impossible. Poverty was everywhere, and life expectancy barely reached 47 years. The scars of war and chronic undernourishment were to blame. In the USA, the situation was radically different. With the post-war boom and economic growth, the country could afford rapid development. The GI Bill allowed veterans to buy homes, and the economy grew by 37% by 1950. The average American lived in comfort, with a life expectancy of 68 years and access to superior health care. Comparison, leisure and entertainment. Leisure in the Soviet Union was strictly controlled. Everything was state-organized. Pioneer camps for children, collective trips to the movies where propaganda films like The Fall of Berlin were shown.
Radio broadcasts with Stalin's speeches were part of a daily ritual. Personal hobbies were rare, and interests were subject to strict oversight. In America, leisure was much freer and more diverse. Drive-in theaters, baseball games, and television, which quickly gained popularity, offered a multitude of entertainment options. Picnics, jazz clubs, and road trips became an integral part of the average American's life. Comparison, interior objects. Simplicity and austerity reigned in Soviet homes. Wooden furniture, simple radios, and low ceilings in hastily built stalinkas. As for decor, there was mostly little to mention, perhaps only portraits of Lenin, but luxury was entirely absent. No one needed coziness. Work was what mattered. On the other hand, in America, everything was aimed at comfort. In suburbs like Levittown, people moved into new homes with refrigerators and washing machines. Bright wallpaper, furniture symbolizing abundance and progress, were important attributes of life. Comparison, clothing. Clothing in the Soviet Union was practical and uniform. Wool coats, felt boots for winter, that was about all one could find. Fabrics were scarce, and fashion often bore traces of homemade or rationed distribution. The main thing was convenience and equality. In America, after the war, a fashion boom began. Women wore swing dresses, and men wore suits made from modern materials. The accessibility of clothing was one of the symbols of post-war success. Comparison, automobiles. Cars in the Soviet Union were a rare luxury. Only officials could afford the pobeda. For the majority, there were trams and walking on foot. The focus on military equipment meant that civilian vehicles were produced in minimal quantities. In America, cars became a symbol of freedom. Ford and Chevy models, produced en masse, became available to most Americans. By 1950, there were already 8 million cars on the highways, and the construction of roads made it easy to reach the suburbs. Conclusion: two worlds, two approaches. In the Soviet Union, life was a collective struggle for survival, where everyone was part of the system. In America, life was a personal pursuit of happiness, freedom, and progress. But one thing unites these two stories: lessons of resilience and the importance of memory. The echoes of these eras remain with us. As always, we learn from the past. Subscribe to Soviet Echoes and continue to discover new facets of history. What secrets lie ahead?